5 years, 1,825 days of waiting, of nights spent crying silently into my pillow, of enduring the bitter criticisms of my mother-in-law. I had counted every hour, longing for the day my husband Julian would return from his studies abroad. I had imagined our reunion 1,000 times, but I never conceived that what I would receive after 5 years of sacrifice was not a warm embrace, but a package from a distant land. Inside was not a gift, but a signed divorce petition and a short, cold letter that felt like a death sentence. The words on the paper were a stark black against the white, just like my future felt at that moment. Julian had written, "Alara, I'm sorry. These 5 years have changed me. The world out here is vast, and I've realized we no longer belong together. You were a good wife, but the woman you are now no longer fits my stature or my future. Sign the papers. It's a release for us both. I will send you a small allowance." I stood frozen in the living room, the paper trembling in my hands. Each word was a knife twisting in my heart. No longer fits. Those words hurt more than 1,000 insults. So, in his eyes, I was just an old, outdated object to be discarded to make way for his brilliant future. Did Julian's package finally arrive? The sharp voice of my mother-in-law, Mrs. Dubois, came from behind me. She snatched the paper from my hand, glanced at it, and then burst into a triumphant laugh. "Excellent. My son has finally seen the light. I told him from the start, a simple country girl like you could never be worthy of him. You've been living off us for 5 years, a great fortune for your family. Sign it quickly and get out of this house." She threw the papers onto the table, her eyes filled with contempt. "And don't forget to leave behind all the jewelry Julian bought for you. That belongs to our family." Caught between my mother-in-law's humiliation and my husband's cruelty, my throat tightened, but I did not cry. I slowly picked up the petition and looked at Julian's familiar signature. I remembered the day I saw him off at the airport. He had held me tight, tears in his eyes, promising, "Alara, wait for me. Just 5 years. I'll finish my studies and build a wonderful future for us. I'll bring you over, and we'll never be apart again." For that promise, I sacrificed everything. I gave up my own passion, a promising career in artisanal perfumery. I sold my heirloom jewelry, precious pieces my mother had saved her entire life for me, to gather enough money for his initial expenses in America. I stayed in this house, alone, facing my mother-in-law's daily cruelty. For 5 years, I lived like a maid. His calls became less frequent, his messages shorter. He said he was busy with studies and work. I believed him. It turned out to be a lie. While I was waiting, he had found a new world, one where a simple wife like me had no place. Seeing me hesitate, Mrs. Dubois sneered. "What are you waiting for? Do you think refusing to sign will change anything? He will divorce you one way or another." I lifted my head and looked her straight in the eye. My tears had stopped. In their place was a chilling calm. I picked up a pen, my hand no longer shaking, and signed my name with a firm, decisive stroke. I was signing away a mistaken past and freeing myself. 5 years earlier, I had held this same pen not to end a marriage, but to sign loan agreements, to fill out applications for extra jobs, all to fuel a dream I naively believed we shared. When Julian was accepted into a prestigious master's program at a top university in the US with a partial scholarship, we were overjoyed. But the living costs were enormous, nearly 100,000 euros. His family, though comfortable, couldn't produce such a sum instantly. My parents were retired civil servants with a modest pension. Seeing Julian's dream slipping away, I made a silent decision. I sold every piece of my mother's heirloom jewelry. With that and our savings, we were still short. So I began to work relentlessly. During the day, I worked in a small pharmacy lab. At night, I used my knowledge of botanicals to create herbal teas and traditional preserves to sell online. My hands, once accustomed to precise lab instruments, became calloused and burned. My mother-in-law mocked me, calling me greedy and shameless. I endured it all in silence. Finally, after months, I had the money. The day I gave it to Julian, he was stunned. He held me and cried, "Alara, I'm so sorry. I promise I will work hard. I'll get settled quickly and bring you over. I'll make up for everything." I believed him with all my heart. The day he left, He held me at the airport gate, his eyes red. "Take care of yourself, Alara. Be patient with Mother. I'll send money as soon as I can." He whispered, "I love you," and walked through security without looking back. I watched until he disappeared, my heart aching with a mix of sorrow and hope. 5 years, not the 1 or 2 he had promised. And what I received was a divorce petition. The promise made at the airport now echoed as a cruel joke. My hand, holding the pen, was steady. I placed the black ink on the line, signing Alara, ending my past. I pushed the signed paper toward my mother-in-law. "There, are you satisfied?" Her smile was one of pure triumph. "Good. Now pack your things and get out." "I will," I replied calmly. "But first, I'm taking back what belongs to me." I walked to the ornate mantelpiece and picked up the antique wooden box that had once held my family's jewelry. "This was my mother's," I said, my voice clear. "I sold its contents for Julian's future. Now that our ties are severed, I'm taking the memory of my mother with me." I then went to our old bedroom, took our wedding photo from its frame, crumpled it, and threw it in the trash. I removed my wedding ring and placed it on the table next to the divorce papers. "And this, I return your son and his ring to you. All debts between us are now settled." With my small suitcase, containing only a few old clothes and the empty jewelry box, I turned and walked away. Mrs. Dubois was stunned into silence. As I walked out the gate, I said one last thing. "Please tell Julian that the Alara he knew died today." For the first time in 5 years, I breathed the air of freedom. But freedom was accompanied by desolation. I had nowhere to go. My parents had passed away 6 years prior, and their old apartment in the city had been left abandoned. It was the only place I could think of. Standing before the old building, my heart ached. The iron gate was rusted, the garden overgrown with weeds. Inside, a thick layer of dust covered everything. I sat on the cold floor, and the loneliness I had suppressed for so long finally broke through. I wept until I had no tears left. As dusk settled, I stood up. This place, though derelict, held my happiest memories. It was the only place I truly belonged. I would not be defeated. Today was not an end, but a beginning. From these ashes, I, Alara, would rebuild my life. Cleaning out the old apartment was like cleansing my soul. In the dusty attic, while sorting through old things, I stumbled upon a small wooden chest. It wasn't locked. Inside were dozens of leather-bound notebooks, their pages yellowed with age. The elegant, faded script belonged to my grandfather. He had been a renowned parfumeur in Grasse, the heart of French perfumery. My father had often told me stories of his legendary skill, an artist who could create scents that captured memories and emotions. The craft had died with him, as my father lacked the delicate touch required. I opened a notebook. It was filled with meticulous formulas, notes on distillation, and sketches of botanicals. Rose de Mai, jasmine, lavender, tuberose. He wrote of how to blend them to create complex, layered fragrances. As I read, a world of scent opened up to me. A dormant talent, a legacy inherited from him but buried under the weight of my life, began to awaken. I remembered as a child I could distinguish every flower in my grandmother's garden by scent alone. At the bottom of the chest was a small, intricately carved wooden box. When I opened it, a sublime, gentle fragrance filled the air, the scent of my childhood, the scent of home. Inside was a small vial of amber-colored liquid, the last essence of my grandfather's life's work. From that day on, my life had a purpose. The apartment became my laboratory. With my remaining money, I bought simple distillation equipment and began experimenting with my grandfather's formulas. I failed countless times, but with each failure I learned. It was as if his spirit was guiding me through the pages of his journals. After nearly 6 months of tireless work, I finally succeeded. I recreated one of his simplest floral waters. As the first drop of fragrant liquid emerged, smelling of pure jasmine and sandalwood, I cried. They were tears of joy. I had not just recreated a formula. I had rediscovered my family's soul, and more importantly, I had found myself. But passion alone couldn't pay the bills. My money was running out. I needed to earn a living. With no capital for a proper shop, I decided to start small, just as my grandfather had. I built a small, foldable table from old wooden planks left by my father. I chose a quiet corner in a bustling Parisian flea market, away from the main crowds. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to let the scents speak for themselves. My humble stall, named Ethel in honor of my noble heritage, looked out of place amidst the noisy vendors. People glanced at my small, scented sachets and oil rollers with curiosity but walked on. For days, I sold nothing. Just as I was about to give up, a few weary shoppers, seeking refuge from the noise, stopped by my stall, drawn in by the gentle aroma of incense I was burning. They bought a few small items. The next day, they returned, saying the sachets had helped them sleep better. Word began to spread. Then, one afternoon, my fateful customer appeared. He was an impeccably dressed older gentleman, in his 60s, exuding an air of quiet authority. He didn't look at my products. He simply closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. "This fragrance," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "It's sandalwood, but there's a whisper of jasmine and... Is that a hint of bergamot? How did you blend this?" I was taken aback. No one had ever asked about the art, only the price. "It's an old family recipe, sir," I replied respectfully. "My grandfather taught that sandalwood's strength needs the softness of jasmine to find balance." His eyes lit up. The soul of old Provence. It's been years since I've smelled something so authentic. The expensive designer perfumes today have technique, but no soul. Your fragrance tells a story. He looked at me, a simple girl in a humble stall, yet saw the passion in my eyes. "A talent like yours shouldn't be hidden in a market corner." He handed me a high-quality business card. "I am Moreau, chairman of the T&L Investment Group. I am very interested in your work. Call me when you are ready. I believe we have much to discuss." He nodded and walked away, leaving me stunned, holding the key that would unlock my future. After several sleepless nights, I gathered my courage and called the number. Mr. Moreau answered himself, his voice warm and encouraging. He invited me to his office the next day. Stepping into the glittering skyscraper headquarters of T&L, I felt small and out of place. But Mr. Moreau received me not as a chairman but as a mentor. He listened to my entire story, from my past to my grandfather's legacy. "My dear girl," he said, his eyes filled with admiration, "you possess something more valuable than gold, a story, a legacy, and extraordinary resilience. But talent and passion are not enough in the world of business. You need knowledge." He then made an astonishing offer. He would not just invest money, he would personally mentor me. "I will be your teacher," he said. "I will teach you everything from finance to marketing. In return, you must only promise one thing: never lose the heart and soul of your products." Tears streamed down my face. I had found a true benefactor. And so, a new journey began. Mr. Moreau provided me with a small, modern workshop, but he didn't let me just focus on production. Every day after work, I went to his office. He taught me how to read financial reports, analyze markets, and build a brand. He took me to important meetings, teaching me the art of negotiation. It was an exhaustive education, but under his guidance, I transformed from a simple artisan into a businesswoman. He became a father figure to me, filling the void my parents had left. He often spoke of his only son, Adrian, who was abroad finishing his studies and would soon return to take over the family business. He said I reminded him of his late wife, gentle but with a core of steel. After nearly 2 years, Mr. Moreau told me it was time. "I have given you the tools, Alara. Now you must sail your own ship." With his backing, I officially established the Ethel Fragrance and Cosmetics Company. I didn't compete with mass-market brands. I carved out a niche, high-end, all-natural fragrances rooted in French tradition and storytelling. My first major launch was a line of aromatherapy products for luxury hotels and spas. I knew they needed to create unique, memorable ambiances for their clients, but most were using generic imported scents. This was Ethel's opportunity. Getting a foot in the door was the biggest challenge. The 5-star hotels and exclusive resorts had exacting standards and trusted only established international names. My emails and calls went unanswered. Remembering Mr. Moreau's advice, "If the front door is closed, find another way in," I changed my approach. I prepared a detailed presentation on the art of scent branding and its importance in the luxury hospitality experience. I sent it not to purchasing departments but to the general managers and marketing directors of the top hotels, not as a sales pitch but as a sharing of expertise. The strategy worked. Intrigued by the professionalism and deep knowledge in my proposal, several directors invited me for a meeting. In those meetings, I didn't bring samples. I brought my story. I spoke of my grandfather's legacy, of Ethel's philosophy, of how a scent can evoke memory and create an indelible impression. I won my first contract, an exclusive deal to supply the entire fragrance line for a famous 6-star resort. From that success, Ethel's reputation grew. Other luxury clients began seeking me out, not just to buy products, but for me to design their signature brand scent. The company grew at a phenomenal pace. The media began to write about me, calling me the queen of fragrance, the woman who had revived a traditional art form. I was no longer the abandoned woman from the market. I was a successful, confident entrepreneur. But in a quiet corner of my office, I kept the small wooden table and the first hand-painted Ethel sign, a reminder of where I began. 3 years after Ethel was founded, my life had completely changed. I was a respected figure in the business community. It was at a grand annual charity gala that fate intervened once more. I was standing alone, observing the crowd, when a warm, polite voice spoke beside me. "Excuse me, are you Alara, the founder of Ethel?" I turned to see a strikingly handsome man. He was tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, with intelligent, kind eyes. "Yes, that's me," I smiled. "I'm Adrian," he said, his smile radiant. "I've just returned from abroad. I've admired your brand and its philosophy from afar for a long time." Adrian. The name was familiar. He was Mr. Moreau's son, the heir to the T&L Group. "You must be Mr. Moreau's son," I said. He looked surprised. "How did you know my father?" "Your father is my mentor, my benefactor," I explained. Adrian's eyes softened. "So you're the one." My father spoke of a young woman with incredible spirit and talent, but he failed to mention how beautiful she was. We talked for hours that night. Unlike other businessmen, Adrian spoke of art, culture, and his travels. He had a deep, sensitive soul. "I understand now why my father invested in you," he said. "Your products aren't just commodities, they are works of art." There was an immediate, profound connection between us, a meeting of minds I had never experienced. In the weeks that followed, Adrian sought me out. We met in quiet bookshop cafes and at art exhibitions. He was sharp and decisive in business, but warm and sincere in his personal life. When I told him about my painful first marriage, he didn't judge. He simply took my hand and said, "You've suffered enough. From now on, let me protect you." And so, I opened my heart again. Our love grew naturally, gently. With him, I found peace. Mr. Moreau was overjoyed. "I have always thought of you as a daughter," he said. "Nothing could make me happier than seeing the two people I love most find happiness together." A year later, on a moonlit beach, Adrian knelt and proposed. The ring wasn't a diamond, but a custom-designed piece of fragrant sandalwood, holding a single, perfect pearl. "The wood represents your strength," he said, "and the pearl is for the tears you shed, which have now turned into a treasure. Let me help you cherish it, Alara." I said yes, tears of pure happiness streaming down my face. I was about to become the wife of the chairman of T&L. My life was a dream, but a ghost from the past was about to make a shocking return. Our wedding was an intimate, elegant affair held at a beautiful chateau in the Loire Valley. It was the epitome of taste and grace, a world away from my first wedding. I wore a simple white silk gown, and the air was filled with a bespoke fragrance I created for the day called Serenity. My life with Adrian was blissful. He was a wonderful husband, loving, respectful, and my biggest supporter. I officially became the chairman's wife, but I never gave up my work. Ethel was my passion, and Adrian was immensely proud of my independence and success. The past seemed like a distant, faded memory. I had almost forgotten about Julian's existence, but life has a way of coming full circle. While I was building my new life, Julian had also been building his. He graduated with honors and secured a good position at an architecture firm in the US. After several years, however, his ambition grew too large for what he considered a small pond. He decided to return to France, believing his international degree and experience would guarantee him a top-level position at a major corporation. His target was none other than the T&L Group, the country's leading real estate and construction conglomerate, now chaired by my husband Adrian. Unaware of this connection, Julian applied for the head of project management position. With his impressive resume, he easily passed the initial rounds. The final approval lay on Adrian's desk. One evening, as was his habit, Adrian brought the finalist's file home to review with me. "Take a look at this," he said. "HR found a real talent. This man could be key to our new urban development project." I took the file casually, but when I saw the photo on the first page and the name Julien Dubois printed below, I froze. It was him. The same arrogant eyes, the same self-assured smile. Adrian noticed my change in expression. "Alara? What is it? Do you know him?" I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "He's my ex-husband." The air in the room grew heavy. Adrian was stunned. He knew my past, but he never imagined the man who had abandoned me would reappear in this way. "What do you want to do?" he asked, his voice gentle. "If you're not comfortable, I'll reject his application immediately." I looked at the love and respect in his eyes. "No," I said firmly. "Business is business. If he truly is the best person for the job, you should hire him. My personal feelings shouldn't interfere with the company." But deep down, a strange curiosity stirred within me. I wanted to see his reaction when he discovered that the simple country wife he had discarded was now the wife of his new boss. The past had come knocking, and this time I wouldn't run. I would face it. A week later, T&L held a lavish reception to welcome its new senior staff, including Julian. This, I knew, would be the perfect stage for our fateful reunion. That evening, I dressed with meticulous care in a timeless, elegant black silk gown. My hair was swept up, showcasing a pair of simple pearl earrings. My only ornament was the subtle signature scent of Ethel. I wanted to appear not just as the chairman's wife, but as a woman of power and grace in my own right. When Adrian and I entered the ballroom, all eyes turned to us. Julian was in a corner, holding a glass of champagne, boasting to his new colleagues about his experience abroad. He was at the pinnacle of his self-satisfaction. After the opening remarks, Adrian took my hand and led me to the stage. "And now," he announced, his voice carrying across the room, "I would like to introduce our new head of project management, Mr. Project, Julien Dubois." Julien strode proudly onto the stage, a triumphant smile on his face. He shook Adrian's hand, basking in his moment of glory. Then, Adrian turned to me. "And for our new members, I would like to introduce the most important person to me and to this company. This is my wife, Alara, who is also a senior strategic advisor for T&L." The moment my name was spoken, the smile on Julian's face froze. He whipped his head around to look at me, standing just a few feet away. His eyes widened in disbelief and horror. The woman before him, poised, elegant, and powerful. How could this be the Alara he had so callously divorced? All the pieces clicked into place in his mind with devastating clarity. The color drained from his face. His legs trembled, and the champagne glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. In that deafening silence, he stood motionless, a statue of pure shock. His grand return had become a grotesque farce. He was not a conqueror, but an employee of the new husband of the wife he had abandoned. Julian disappeared from work for a week, citing illness. I knew the shock had been too great. He and his mother, Mrs. Dubois, must have been reeling. When he returned, the arrogance was gone, replaced by a look of fear and regret. He tried to approach me, but I ignored him completely, treating him as if he were invisible. To me, he was just another employee. Unable to reach me, his mother decided to intervene. She showed up at my Ethel office without an appointment, demanding to see me. "It's a family matter," she insisted to my secretary. I agreed to see her, but on my terms. When she was shown into my serene, minimalist office, her eyes darted around with envy and bitterness. She forced a syrupy smile. "Alara, my dear, it's me. It's been so long. You look different." I looked up from my desk with a polite, detached expression. "I'm sorry, madam, have we met? What can I do for you?" Her smile vanished. What? You don't recognize me? I'm your mother-in-law. Ah, I said, my voice cool. My apologies. My memory fails me. As I recall, I divorced your son, Mr. Julien Dubois, 7 years ago. My current husband is Mr. Adrien Moreau. Therefore, the title, mother-in-law, is misplaced. I paused. Now, if this is about Mr. Dubois' employment, please direct your inquiries to T&L's Human Resources Department. If this is a personal matter, I'm afraid we have nothing to discuss. Her face contorted with rage. You ungrateful wretch. You wouldn't be where you are today without our families. I pressed a button on my intercom. 2 security guards entered immediately. Please escort this woman out, I ordered calmly. She seems unwell and is disrupting the workplace. She was speechless as the guards firmly but politely led her out. You'll regret this, she shrieked from the doorway. I simply watched her go. My cold indifference was a far more powerful statement than any angry words could ever be. Their drama was over, but the consequences were just beginning. A month later, at a critical T&L board meeting, Julien had his one chance to redeem himself. He had worked tirelessly on a proposal for a massive luxury eco-resort project, his chance to prove his indispensability. I was present as senior strategic advisor. Julien presented his plan with renewed confidence. It was a glossy, impressive presentation filled with dazzling projections and complex jargon. He was trying to prove that while I may have married the chairman, he was the one with true world-class talent. The board members seemed impressed. Julien finished to a round of applause, shooting me a defiant look. Adrien, however, turned to me. Thank you, Mr. Dubois. On this matter, I'd like to hear from our senior advisor first. All eyes fell on me. Julien tensed, convinced a perfumer could know nothing of real estate. Thank you, Mr. Dubois, for a very beautifully prepared plan, I began, my voice soft but clear. However, a beautiful plan built on a hollow foundation is merely a sandcastle, destined to be washed away by the first wave. The confidence on Julien's face vanished. I began my analysis, using not jargon, but logic and facts. Your budget for land acquisition is off by at least 20 million euros. Have you not accounted for the recent changes in zoning laws for this specific type of agricultural land? His face paled. Secondly, your plan for an ecological lake fails to consider the region's soil geology. The sandy clay base cannot hold water naturally. The cost of lining and maintaining it would add another 30 million, a figure completely absent from your forecast. Sweat beaded on his forehead. And finally, the fatal flaw. You propose an 18-hole golf course to attract wealthy clients. Are you aware that our main competitor broke ground on a 36-hole world-class international course just 10 kilometers away 3 months ago? Your entire target market is already lost. Your project, to be blunt, is dead on arrival. Every point was a precise strike against his professional pride. He stood there, speechless. He had been so blinded by his international credentials that he had ignored the crucial, on-the-ground realities of the local market lessons I had learned the hard way while building Athel. I concluded, this project is high risk and poorly researched. I recommend we reject it. There was a moment of silence before Adrien spoke. I concur completely with our senior advisor's assessment. Julien's last hope was mercilessly crushed. He had not been defeated by nepotism, but by superior competence. That failure was the final blow. Humiliated and broken, Julien became a ghost within the company. He was demoted to a junior position. One afternoon, he appeared at my office, unannounced. He looked haggard and defeated. When I finally let him in, he walked to my desk, looked at me with hollow eyes, and fell to his knees. Alara, he choked out, his voice desperate. I know it's too late. I'm not here to ask for my job back. I'm here to ask for your forgiveness. His shoulders shook with sobs. I was wrong. So wrong. I let ambition and my mother's words blind me. I threw away the best person I ever had, the woman who sacrificed everything for me. I thought I was a genius who could conquer the world, but now I see. Without you, I am nothing. He looked up, his eyes pleading. Can we start over? I'll give up everything. I'll be a better man. I'll make up for all the pain. I just need you. I listened silently, my heart a sea of calm. "Get up, Julian," I said gently, my voice devoid of anger. "You don't owe me an apology. You only owe yourself an accounting for your own choices." I looked at him. "You ask if we can go back. Look at that tree in the garden. Once it is cut down, no amount of care can make it live again. Our feelings are the same. They died the day you sent me that letter. As for forgiveness," I continued, "I no longer hate you. In a way, I should thank you. Your cruelty forced me to become strong, to stand on my own feet. Without it, I would not be the woman I am today." He stared at me, stunned. This calm absolution was more devastating than any rebuke. "Go and live your life, Julian," I said, opening the door for him. "I have found my own happiness." He stumbled out, a broken man. As the door closed, it sealed the final chapter of my past. That night, I went home to the quiet comfort of Adrian's arms. Everything was finally, truly at peace. Use arrow up and arrow down to select a turn. Enter to jump to it, and escape to return to the chat.